marketing, even 5, 6 years ago, was completely taboo. Like we were signing contracts with clients that had clauses saying we couldn't admit publicly we worked with them because people were like, don't tell anyone we're doing marketing with you because they'll think we're a scam. Because back in the day, everyone thought, oh, if you're paying for marketing, you're just scamming people. I think that we've come a long, long way, at least since those days, where people now appreciate, oh, actually, marketing is needed. Like these guys are helping us tell our story. They're helping us reach new eyeballs and new audiences who otherwise wouldn't find our solution. TikTok algorithm is fascinating, honestly. Like it's kind of bizarre. It doesn't make a lot of sense. It's completely different to a lot of other social media channels. But really, we've been trying a lot of different ways of how can we get reach? Because TikTok has a huge audience of people, and actually, there's a lot of people interested in crypto projects, but not in crypto necessarily. So I think a lot of it is the hooks and the messaging. How do you attract people by actually giving them a message they understand? But if you're a DeFi protocol and you want LPs, don't go to TikTok because they're not going to get even what that means.
GM, and welcome to a new episode of the OGC podcast, where we are discussing everything crypto growth with some of the best leaders in the industry. And today I'm quite excited to have an OG in crypto marketing here with a brand that many people probably know. Welcome to the show, Danny, CEO of Hype.
Thanks, Norman. Appreciate it. Good to be here.
Hey, Danny. How are you doing today? How's it going?
Good. I don't know when this is being aired, but the market just took an absolute dump last night. So some of my trading positions aren't looking quite as nice as I would have hoped they'd look, but otherwise all good.
Yeah. We're probably going to put this up pretty quickly. So it's hopefully still going to be relevant then. And we're gonna touch on the stormy times of the market that we're seeing right now later on. Before we do so, and today I think the idea really is for me to dive into Hype. You guys call yourself the Superagency in crypto. You're very, very deeply rooted in everything marketing, culture, growth in the crypto space since many years. You're going to introduce us to all of that. And my idea really is to dive into what it looks like building an agency in the space that is really, really focused on marketing, go a little bit into the business side of things and understand the behind the scenes of Hype and how you guys build and how you guys operate. But then obviously also touch on some marketing trends and things that are more recent that you guys see out there. So without further ado, why don't you give the audience a quick introduction about yourself?
Sure, thanks. That was quite a good intro anyway. I'm Danny, CEO at Hype. Hype, we've been around since 2017. So definitely one of the early marketing agencies around. Today we talk about ourselves as the super agency because I think we see ourselves more than just a marketing agency. Marketing is a function of go-to-markets, and actually what we do for brands and businesses in this space is a bit broader than that. Obviously, marketing is a huge part of it, but very much we see ourselves as the ultimate go-to-market support for a lot of projects and brands, and that's because we've just been doing this for years. Like, we work with hundreds and hundreds of projects. Hype started back in 2017, the ICO era, with syndicates and CG groups, and then Discord came along, and then CT came along, and we've sort of grown and scaled into this now full service, go-to-market support agency. And I think over those years, we've just had so much experience taking so many different types of projects to market in crypto that it meant we could offer a lot more than just branding support here and there, or like a marketing campaign here and there. So the vision of the super agency was really that we do a lot more probably than people realize behind the scenes. A lot of people know that we acquired a recruitment company a few years ago because we were seeing actually people mattered a lot. So you needed good people to be able to function and run good marketing campaigns. So that made sense to us. And it's the same thing for other areas. That's why these days, we're involved in PR and events and all sorts of different things that help with go-to-market.
Cool. Let's double click on that. What are your services lines? How do you explain your services portfolio?
Honestly, it's what I said. We're a full service marketing agency, right? Full service go-to-market support. So whether that's like the classic things you'd expect from social, community growth, branding, PR, all those kind of services, we've got tons of departments. We're just over 100 people now globally across both the recruitment agency and and Hype, our services. So we have a lot of departments. We cover a lot of different areas, and that's because everyone's slightly different, right? If you're pre-seed, seed, Series A, about to launch a token, about to launch a product, there's a vast difference in the type of projects we work with. So actually, the type of services they need tend to differ, but most of the time, it's about going to market. So going to get attention, going to raise awareness of something they're building, storytelling, and that's really where we thrive.
Mm-hmm. Cool. And maybe to further understand this, what is your breakdown of customer types, or like what different projects do you work with?
Yeah, I don't know if the customer type is the right question. So the funny thing about our world, so over the course of the bears and the bulls that we've been through, we've definitely seen a changing in the type of project we work with. What tends to happen is wherever the VC money and the fund money flows, it tends to be where the projects are that have the funds to actually do marketing. So what we see a lot, and actually there's quite an interesting lag that we see, where we often get a lot of demand for a particular type of category or project that then turns out to be quite a big meta in crypto. And so back in 2018, it was the Cellos and Nears and Algorands and the big alt L1s. And then in 2020, 21, we saw a lot of like metaverse and NFTs. And then we've seen like a lot of AI crypto over the last 12 months or so. And that now we're starting to see a shift. Like we've seen a lot of Bitcoin FI. So I think what happens is the type of customer isn't necessarily what changes, but the category and type of project that they're marketing tends to mirror typically where the market's going. And that's both good and bad. Right? For us, it means we have to constantly adapt and we have to be mindful of what's coming, but also it means that we tend to get quite a good view of the macro and what is actually big and what things, where money's flowing, what things are getting demand, and what things are likely coming to market soon.
Okay, so does this mean that the because in crypto, and we're mostly talking about, let's say, the on-chain side of things here, right? So we're not talking about TradFi players entering, or like Web 2.5 stuff or exchanges or whatever. Like from my understanding, you're really mostly working with very crypto native companies and projects. Is that accurate? And I would be curious, like within
It's accurate-ish. Yeah.
Okay.
The majority of the projects we work with are, of course, on-chain protocols, projects, L1s, L2s, DeFi protocols, infrastructure, of course. But I think over the last year in particular, as we've seen the advent of TradFi institutions coming on board, it reminds me a lot of, in 2021, I think it was, we saw a huge amount of like big brand, like the Adidas, Nikes, Diageos, they all came into crypto, right? They wanted to launch NFT collections. They wanted to understand, how do I infiltrate the crypto community? We're now seeing a whole new breed of type of companies, financial institutions, projects who also want to infiltrate the crypto community. And so our job, like our knowledge base, is understanding the drumbeat of crypto. We understand the audience, we understand the market, we know what works, what doesn't. We try and keep our finger on the pulse. So I think any project or any kind of brand or company that's trying to infiltrate that market, we can help. Now, you may have an on-chain business, you may not, but if you're trying to reach a crypto audience, that's likely why you'd come to us.
And there's this differentiation between, ecosystems, protocols, chains, and applications, which is at least, I would say, like 3 layers or like 3 areas that I think are relatively different in their, go-to-market approaches. Can you share, like, these days, where do you like where are your most important projects? Where's the revenue coming from? Is it more like ecosystems hiring you, that want to, I don't know, attract developers? Is it, protocols that want to, attract crypto degens? Is it applications that want to tap into Web2 audiences? Like, where do you see the most traction?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that we see a massive, like we specialize in one thing. I think we have quite a broad subsector though. So we do work with some L1s, L2s, ecosystems. We definitely work with some infrastructure providers. I would say DeFi protocols and those kind of apps are an always on type of project for us. And there's always those projects coming to market, regardless of what's happening with metas. So it really does vary. I guess the biggest thing is that, in a bear market, for example, or that kind of a down market, we tend to see a huge demand for things like DevRel. Right? Everyone wants builders, everyone wants developer marketing, everyone wants to attract builders because they realize there's not really as much retail attention. In a full-blown bull market, it's the complete opposite. No one actually cares. So most people are not other than a few where that's their business model, most are not as interested. They're more interested in mindshare, attention, noise, getting cut through, getting retail excitement about maybe a token launch or whatever it is. So I think that the stage of market actually changes what people are looking for as opposed to the type of client we work with. And we've got ecosystems and like they're ones we've worked with for literally years now. We support their ecosystem projects as they come to market. And we also work with individual apps as well.
Interesting. And can you like how do you think about the business side these days? So do you feel like did it get tougher? Did it get easier? Does it always stay the same? I feel like you guys are like, this market is so volatile and it's changing so much, and you have ups and downs and metas and all that kind of stuff. So, and I know that you've been around for a long time. So you as the business leader, building a company here, leading a company, how does it make you feel to build an agency in this very volatile space? And how has it evolved over the last, 10 years?
Yeah, I mean, so I've worked in marketing in agencies for like 15 years or so, right? And marketing agencies are hard anyway. Crypto is hard anyway. When you combine those two things, it's even harder. And anyone that is any kind of agency or service leader will associate with that, and they'll know what I mean. Look, I think the biggest challenge has been scale, right? There's a reason why the Lindy effect is such a valuable, talked about concept, right? Because I think the longer you are in market, it truly is easier to not just survive but thrive. We've had a lot of learnings. We've seen a lot of bull markets, a lot of bear markets. We've made lots of mistakes. We've scaled up. We've scaled down. We've figured out what works, what doesn't, at what time, and that comes from time in market, honestly. So there's some things that just you have to sort of live through to learn. But I think the biggest challenge is always scaling. I think with any kind of service business where it's people led, the people are the most important thing. And the more you scale, the more you need different structure, different organizations, like organizational support, different teams, different management. We put a big focus on building a strong leadership team at Hype because we felt that actually we needed that. Right? We need to lead from the top. And so I get a lot of plaudits as CEO, great, but honestly, the leadership team that we have and some of the senior management are incredible at what they do, and they couldn't do what we do without them. And I think having those kind of structures and processes in place has enabled us to make sure that we keep our culture, we grow in a sustainable way. I know we made mistakes. I remember cycles past where we scaled way too quickly. We got a bit overexcited, as a lot of people do. Or look at all the opportunity. Let's keep growing. Let's keep hiring more people. Let's scale. And then you realize, actually, maybe we've gone a bit too far. Let's pull back a bit. My experience before Hype even was involved in agencies where we were scaling. I've worked in like 20-person agencies, 100-person agencies, and it's a very different beast. So in hitting those milestones, you get sort of the 4 or 5-person agency, the 20-person agency, the 70-person agency, 100, 300. They're completely fundamentally different businesses, and if you're gonna step in and grow like that, you need to be thinking how they think and be structured in a way that they're structured. So honestly, it's a bit of a test and learn over the years. We've learned what's worked. And the other thing I'd say in a volatile market, probably the best learning for us that's helped us not just survive, but I think thrive where we are today, is because you can try and catch the top of the peaks, but you're probably going to suffer the bottom of the troughs. And in crypto in particular, you get really big peaks and really low troughs. And actually, as a business, we're not an individual investor here. We're a business. We've got people's lives and salaries and jobs. We want to keep going and keep growing. So for me, it's much more important that we're stable. And I would much rather miss out on maybe the top of the peak, meaning I miss out on the top of the bottom, and I'm much more stable and secure, because as a business, then it's much more easy to forecast, to manage, to maintain, and be secure. And I think that's what we've done over the last couple of years, which has really helped us.
Interesting. And you touch on the team and the leadership team. And one question I had, and I'm trying to again tackle, to double click a little bit into your project business and try to get some insights of your secret projects. I don't know if they're even secret, but how did you structure the organization? Like, what are the functions, the departments? How do you manage the business and the organization?
Yeah, funnily enough, we've probably pivoted our structure at least 3 or 4 times since I've been at Hype. One of the things that I really believe is being nimble. And although we're like 100 plus people, I still think about us as a startup. Like I still feel like a startup. Everyone gets stuck in. There's quite a flat hierarchy, even though we've got structure and organization, HR team, and all this kind of stuff. The reality is it's fairly flat, and everyone gets involved. Like yesterday, I was writing a tweet for a client, like that. Everyone just gets stuck in, and so I think structure wise, it's an interesting one. I learned a lot from some previous agencies where we moved. So there's like pod models where you have client pods and you have
Mm-hmm.
dedicated teams per client, and that's it. There's also the opposite, which is like the hub and spoke, where you have departments. So you have your social team, your creative team, and they're isolated. And what we found is actually it needs a mixture of the two. So the thing that's worked best for us is a sort of hybrid model that we've sort of built naturally, internally, organically, where we have client pods for certain functions like the account management and the day to day, but we still have the individual departments because actually for social media, for example, all the social media interns and managers that we have who are all phenomenal and mostly unsung heroes, actually if you pull them all out and put them in their own individual pods, they get quite isolated and they stop
Mm-hmm.
learning from each other. So while you still want them as part of a team pod and understanding what's going on, they also need to be part of of their own team so they all can learn from each other and develop, and because they're all doing the same job but on different clients and can all help each other. So honestly, it's become a bit of this hybrid pod slash hub and spoke
Mm-hmm.
model, which for us, we we rolled out fully probably about a year and a half ago now, 2 years ago, and structured it that way. And it's probably been the best decision we've made. We finally figured out the thing that works for us. That doesn't mean it will work for everyone, but it works for us.
And across this approach, what are the functions that you guys have in the organizations? Yeah, your
So yeah,
organization. You
I mean
mentioned social media. Yeah, what are the
we've
functions?
got I don't know, we've probably got about 14 departments now. So yeah, we have social media, we have community management, we have PR. We now have a short form video team focused on like TikTok, that kind of stuff. We have a community growth team. We have obviously our account management and client services department, operations. I could keep going. There's a whole bunch of them. Obviously, the creative department, and the creative department itself we've got a huge creative team. I think it's one of our biggest strengths actually. And that's everything from like branding through to video production, 3D, graphic design. So there's a lot of services at Hype. That's why we're quite a large team, because actually we often need lots of these different services and pulling them together. I think the mistake a lot of people make when they come to Hype is they assume we've got some kind of fixed package, like
Mm.
shopping list of things. It doesn't really work like that for us. We try and be really selective on who we work with. That's a really important thing for us. We're fortunate that we can be most of the time. And we try and do everything bespoke, right? So if you come to me as a DeFi protocol, you've probably got different objectives and challenges to an L1. You might already have a social media in house. That's great. You don't need it from us. Whereas this other team might not. You might already have a PR agency in place, so you don't need that from us. Cool, that's fine. So I think it's very much we try and spend our time figuring out what is it you need, what are the objectives, what is the structure of the team like required to be able to plug into where you guys are today to deliver the outcomes that you want, and then our ability to be able to just pull from whatever we need, bring a team of brilliant talent together to be able to deliver that. I think is what makes it a bit easier for us to structure however we need for each client.
And what are the top 3 or top 5 marketing objectives, growth objectives that you guys hear out there?
It varies by protocol and project. Obviously, if you're DeFi, then it's going to be like TVL. What I'm really pleased about actually over the last typically 6 to 12 months, maybe 6 to 8 months, we're finally seeing products. We're finally seeing companies come to us with an actual product. They actually want DAUs, like monthly active users, daily active users, wallet numbers. Like how do we actually drive volume and users? How do we drive revenue? It sounds bizarre, but honestly, thank God we're finally having these discussions. Like, yes, that 100%. Yes, we definitely do that, and we can
And
track that, and we can measure it, and it's great.
is this a cycle question? So do you think this is gonna like vanish again, or do you think no, this is something that more
No,
fundamentally changed?
I think this is something that's fundamentally changing. We are crypto, non-crypto marketing, if you like, marketing outside of the crypto bubble is very different. 15
Yep.
years ago, we were doing like deep data
Yep.
analysis, ROI driven campaigns. You come to crypto, and a lot of the time there is no product, or it's token marketing, or it's brand marketing, it's attention, it's partnership stuff. There's a lot of things where it's really hard to measure. It's a lot of KOL stuff where you've seen all the drama on the timeline for years about, oh well,
Yeah.
Polkadot spent all this money on KOLs, what do they get for it? There's a lot of stuff there that's really hard to measure, and then there's a lot of things that is very easy to measure. The reality is, if you have no product to drive anyone to, then how do you measure revenue or ROI or benefit, right? And you're looking at much higher up funnel metrics, which see we can still look at and measure, but they're just not as effective at a business level. So I think that the industry is just growing up, and that was
Hmm.
always going to happen, right? Because it was a nascent industry. Marketing, even 5-6 years ago, was completely taboo. Like, we were signing contracts with clients that had clauses saying we couldn't admit publicly we worked with them,
Hmm.
because people were like, don't tell anyone we're doing marketing with you because they'll think we're a scam. Because
Hmm.
back in the day, everyone thought, oh, if you're paying for marketing, you're just scamming people. I think that we've come a long, long way, at least since those days, where people now appreciate, oh, actually, marketing is needed. Like, these guys are helping us tell our story. They're helping us reach new eyeballs and new audiences who otherwise wouldn't find our
Yeah.
solution. And so, yeah, I think it's a growing up of the industry.
And speaking of audiences, what would you say? How much of your time do you guys in like initiatives and projects spend on marketing towards the crypto native audience, where we kind of like recycle users, and how much of your time do you spend targeting net new, let's say, Web2 audiences or people that are not in crypto yet? Is this like 80-20, 50-50? What's the just like estimation
It's a
there?
good, yeah. I mean, it's a good question. I don't know. I couldn't tell you what that number is off the top of my head. You'd have to have a look, because it varies by project. Again, if you're, I don't know, if you're doing a token launch, or if you're doing a mainnet launch for a DeFi protocol, you're probably not going to attract mainstream non-crypto native
Yeah.
people to come and deploy an LP into your protocol, right, into your vault. Whereas if you are launching a more consumer-based app, or like AI inference data collection, and anyone can go and use that, and it's really easy, and it's a user-friendly app, and it's been abstracted, well, then of course that's going to be very, very different, right? A lot of the
Mm.
focus is going to be there. I guess the thing I would say is, one of the fastest growing departments this year we've had is our short form video and TikTok
Mm-hmm.
services. That's been really fascinating. I mean, we launched that in like November, December last year, because we could really see there was a shift coming in the demand outside of CT and outside of the bubble. And
Mm-hmm.
so we were exploring with short form video in all sorts of different ways. We could see video was really working well. The algorithm was promoting it more. And I think that's been really fascinating. We've seen some really top brands in this space want to experiment in that. And so I'd say that's predominantly a non-crypto native audience, I guess. Like, there is a crypto bubble in TikTok, but
Yeah.
nowhere near what CT is doing. And we assumed that was coming, because people were getting very tired of like the circle jerk of the same few thousand people in on CT. And so people are looking for how they can get out of that bubble. And TikTok is one example of that.
Can you share some more details on these short form experiments and stuff that you've been building there? Is this still consideration, awareness, like more top of the funnel? Do you try to actually drive conversions? What are the types of videos that you experiment with? I mean, maybe you can even share like a little bit of a case study or whatever. I'm not sure if you're allowed to, but yeah, curious to like double click on that emerging channel.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I can definitely give an example of a project we did. I won't mention the name, but like some of the
Hmm.
story that came out of it. But I think with TikTok, it's really been experimenting this year. So TikTok algorithm is fascinating, honestly. Like, it's kind of bizarre. Doesn't make a lot of sense. It's completely different to a lot of other social media channels. But really, we've been trying a lot of different ways of how can we get reach, because TikTok has a huge audience of people, and actually there's a lot of people interested in crypto projects, but not in crypto necessarily. So I think a lot of it is the hooks and the messaging. How do you attract people by actually giving them a message they understand? And if you're a DeFi protocol and you want LPs, don't go to TikTok, because they're not going to get even what that means, right? But if you're, as I said, so we worked with an app earlier this year, and what they're doing is they're allowing you to go on. And you might have seen that Uber recently acquired a company like this, but basically you go onto the app and you answer questions. It's a bit like the Google verification. It's like, upload pictures of this. Is this a car? Is this a
Mm-hmm.
not? Is it? And you're basically feeding data to AI, but they want, because AI has used all the data that exists on the internet already, so they need human data. So
Yeah.
these guys launched a platform where people can go in and you get actually paid in USDC for completing these tasks. Right? So every day you can earn like $1, $2 for just clicking, pressing things, answering things correctly, getting it verified. That data gets sold off to Amazon Video, not video, but whoever, right, is using it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's their whole business model. So we explored with TikTok, for example. Okay, how can we reach other audiences? So we looked at like audiences in Asia, in Malaysia, in South America. How can we reach these audiences and use influencers or UGC content or video content that's going to encourage people? And actually having influencers showcase, oh, look, I've just earned $20 doing this clicking thing. It's really easy. I'm sat on my sofa, I'm earning money.
Mm-hmm.
Some of those videos got millions of views, like literally millions, because they just pop off and they go viral. And that drove hundreds of thousands of users to the app. It was very easy just to have a link in there, drive them to a landing page or to the app to download it, and then people were trying it. And so that's a great example where it was full funnel, like awareness of the app to drive people to actually use the thing, to go in and then get daily active users using it. So honestly, we're constantly experimenting, and TikTok changes algorithm a bit like Elon Musk changes X. It's a constant moving beast. But yeah, we've been experimenting with all sorts of things, phone farms, AI faceless content. Right now, for example, we're producing 400-500 videos a month easily for a
Wow.
bunch of different things. And because it's a really amazing place to test. We can fly through copy testing, image testing. We can fly through stuff that you would normally have to do like paid ads for or something, and then A/B test against. You can fly through this stuff and learn very quickly what's working, what gets picked up, what drives users, and can start to use that information elsewhere as well. So
Yeah.
it's still emerging. I can't admit that we've cracked it. It's one of those things that we're constantly experimenting with and learning. But yeah, it's really been an exciting new development for us.
Cool. Yeah, and I think all these AI tools, and I know that you're quite big into all these things and like these workflows, and you do a lot there. I think that would go too far now. Maybe that's something for another episode sometime where we can dive into AI enabled crypto marketing in more depth. But I want to go back a little bit to the earlier conversation. More to like from a client perspective. Of like protocols and layer ones and apps, etc. What are the marketing metas, the trends, the things like from the last 3-4 years? I talked to Justin Fogel a little bit about this from Safari. I think was it the first episode? I don't know, but he's following these very closely as well. So I was wondering, what are the marketing metas, trends that you guys see? And like today, but also, where did those come from in the last, I don't know, 3 years or so? Because, the crypto marketing stuff like comes in waves, and there's always trends, and then there's airdrops, and then there's points programs, and then there's this curious to get your take on these metas and these trends.
Well, I mean, that is a loaded question, but that is everything in crypto. Like when people ask us, what is the difference? Why is crypto marketing so hard? Or what's the difference between crypto marketing and like more traditional marketing? And it's because the market moves at 1,000,000 miles an hour. Metas change constantly. And if you think about what marketing is, right, all we're trying to do is get attention, right? We're trying to break through. And to do that, you have to have relevance and you have to have differentiation. So let's say meme coins are now a thing. How do you make your DeFi protocol applicable to what everyone's talking about right now, which is meme coins? Oh, now it's the AI and crypto craze. Cool. How do you make your DeFi protocol applicable to the AI and crypto thing? Oh, now everyone's talking about something else. And the reality is some of these things move so quickly, they literally last a week or two, that if you don't jump on them, if you're not there and you can't think about how to apply what's relevant in the industry and what meta is running to your protocol, then you just miss it. And actually, it's okay. You can miss them and jump onto the next one because there's always more coming. I think the mistake that is often made is a meta starts, like stablecoin meta, let's call it, or revenue meta. Right? There's all these, which is crazy to me, but there you go. All these things, and everyone goes, all right, stablecoins, that's the new future, right? Stablecoin metas. So there's now Plasma and Tempo and all these. This is it. This is the future. Everyone's going to be talking about this for the next 6 months. Like, probably not. Like, this is a meta that's come along and it's going to be gone again in a few months' time. And a lot of people are like, right, let me pivot 100% to this. And now my project is only this. And this is all we talk about. And then 2 months down the line, when everyone's moved on because something else has happened, like Trump's launched something again, or Now there's celebrity coins, or something else that's happened, and then they're like, oh, okay, I've got to pivot again. And you can really easily get caught in this trap of constantly trying to pivot your product, your marketing. The ones that do it best are the ones that they understand what they're building, they understand their vision, they have their view of the world, and then it's just about making that relevant to what is happening, right? So if you're, let's take a DeFi protocol again, cool. When the stablecoin meta's there, then we're going to talk about our stable pools. We're going to talk about how stablecoin is driving inflows into crypto. We're going to talk about how that value is going to come on chain. We're going to talk about how that's going to affect LP positions and yield. And like, great, but that doesn't mean we're going to pivot and tell everyone we're a stablecoin chain, right? Same thing for meme coins. So we're not going to suddenly say we're now a DeFi protocol for meme coins, but maybe we start talking about how they lack liquidity and these are the ones we list and this is why, or this is the risks that come with it. So I think that the question of like what are the metas is a very hard one because they come and go, and there's been hundreds of them. And like you could go back and look at literally week by week, different things come up. But it's really the crux of it for any project is how do we stay on top of them and see them coming so that we can react, and how do we move really quickly? That's why pace matters so much. And in a traditional world, someone will come to you and say, "Hey, we want to launch in like 3 months." We're like, "Cool, great. Here's a plan. We've built it out. We know this is the plan we're going to run for 3 months." The plan we start with today is almost definitely not going to be the plan we're executing in a month's time, right? It's going to adapt and change because the market will change, things will happen, and we just need to be adaptable. And I think that's probably the biggest value add we bring in general, is we are a team of 100 people fully plugged in every day, 24/7 to what's happening in crypto, which enables us to bring a different viewpoint sometimes and sort of get our head out of the parapet, which a lot of projects and engineers maybe don't, to be able to say, actually, here's how you can win. Right? A good example was last week of Neo, right? The robot that 1x launched.
Yeah.
Everyone was talking about it. So we quickly jumped on, created a funny video using AI of Neo and launched that for a client. Because again, that's like really, we thought, okay, how do we make this relevant to our project with nothing to do with AI? But how do we make this a funny thing that uses that, but still promotes us? And I think that's the value add.
And can you name a few brands or projects that do this really, really well? Because from what I understand, so it's the winning approach here is to have your marketing, your go-to-market strategy, and execute on it. Obviously, refine it over time, but like be with yourself and like just know where you're headed, and then have a certain tactical flexibility where you jump onto these things. Who's doing this really well? Can be your clients or not, but who's crushing it on the marketing side out there?
Oh, that's a good question. Who's crushing it on the marketing side? I think some of the ones, look, a lot of people are talking about Monad and Mega ETH right now. Why? Because they're the last big ones to come and launch, right? I think those guys have done a phenomenal job of really grabbing attention and making noise. The reason we saw this sort of intern meta for a while and everyone wanted an intern is because actually what the intern role was doing was that on behalf of the brand. So these, and there's probably 6 or 7 fantastic interns in the industry, and then everyone else is not great, or like fine, but no, there's 6 or 7 that are elevated at a crazy level, really intelligent, funny, smart, really plugged in, do incredible content. And I think a few projects, so like Monad have a great intern, and Phantom had a great intern. There's these projects who I think that enabled them to have a finger on the pulse, because the job of these people, Kaito, right, for example, have a great intern. Now Coinbase have a great intern. And I think you need somebody who really gets it, right? We saw the rise of the CT leads earlier this year. We actually did a space with a bunch of them earlier, a few months ago. Why? Because people realized that you need people who are plugged in, who understand the current methods to be able to talk about it in relation to your project. And so I think that has been done really well from a few projects. That's one tactic. It's one way of doing it. Other ways, I think there are projects who are doing really good creator video content. So if you can bring some creators on board and get them to quickly produce organic content about stuff going on, funny things, launches, I think that can also have a big impact. But yeah, I'd need to have a deeper think about who's doing it best right now. I haven't really thought about it recently.
Cool, amazing. I slowly want to wrap it up. We're over the 30-minute mark. maybe the last question, like zooming out once again, where do you think are we? Actually, like, I mean, we need to talk about markets now. I promised this at the beginning. So, where are we headed with the market? I mean, I don't want to like have firm predictions, but
Oof.
some thoughts, and like where are we going on both, like, and I guess they're tightly correlated, like from a marketing perspective. Where's things going? You mentioned, applications become more mature, so that's a good thing. We start measuring the right things. But where do you think if the market stays stable, where would we head from a marketing perspective? And like, curious to hear thoughts on the recent bumpy roads that we've seen as well.
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on this, and probably too much for last 2 minutes of a podcast, and maybe it needs a whole nother one. I guess the quick summation of this is a few different strands in my mind here. The first one is that this cycle has not been like other cycles. Unsurprising, really, when you think about it. No cycle has actually been the same as the last, although in hindsight it looks like it. They haven't, and this cycle also hasn't been like the last. And I think in the same way the bull market cycle hasn't been the same, I think bear market cycles also won't be the same. And so I don't think it's worth looking at exactly what happened last time and go, okay, that's going to happen again this time, because that rarely is the case. And it's definitely been a bumpy road, right? We have seen huge matters. We've seen memes pump. We've seen AI coins pump. We've seen all sorts of things happen. Some alts go here and there. We had our Dino coin moment last year. There's been some strange stuff, but it hasn't been the classic blow off top alt market that we've seen in previous. That might still happen. I honestly don't know. If anyone that sits here and tells you for certain they know which direction the market's going is lying or delusional. If I knew the answer, I probably wouldn't even be sitting here. I'd be sat on a desert island somewhere enjoying a pina colada. But I think for us, it's what I said at the beginning, right? There are these huge peaks and there are these huge troughs, and then there's everything in the middle. And our job is to kind of maintain and stay in a stable position. There is always going to be projects. There's always builders. Crypto, in my view, is not going anywhere. If I thought crypto was over, I wouldn't be sat here. And I really believe in what we're all building here. I think the technology genuinely is world changing. And I think as we bring in the rest of the world, which is what we always wanted, by the way, like if you actually wrote down what's happened this cycle, 90% of it is probably what we were asking for. And TradFi came in to buy our bags, and then retail came in to do this, and real apps started happening, and all the DeFi started working, all this stuff, right? So I think I don't think crypto is going anywhere, and if crypto doesn't go anywhere, then there will consistently be innovation and projects and people that need to tell their story, and so marketing is also not going to go anywhere. The only thing, the final strand of that, though, I would say, which I think is most important, what we know historically, and I even back in my uni days, I studied business and marketing, and you see it throughout the decades. In downturns, training and marketing are the two things that go first. Like, for whatever reason, businesses decide, oh, the market's tanking. Let me just pull back my spend on training, and let me pull back my spend on marketing. And actually, if you look at the research and you look at the stats, and there's tons of it now, every time there's a recession or a downturn or anything in the world, the people who pull back and don't spend on marketing, if you go dark, it normally takes you 3 to 5 years to get back to recover once the market recovers. But actually, if you invest in a recession, then you profit in recovery. And so during downturns, the ones who don't give up marketing, the ones who carry on, you don't need to necessarily extend, but actually if you just keep doing what you were doing, because everyone else falls out of the market, you suddenly grow rapidly and you get a much larger share of that market. So when it comes back, everyone's now catching you. And this is the phenomenon where people can jump from maybe you're the fourth, fifth biggest project in your category, and within a couple of years you can become the top, not because you outspend people, but because you outlive them in the market. And we know that marketing is front of mind, right? People have cognitive biases, recency bias, all this stuff really matters. And so you have to stay in market. And I think that's the biggest mistake that most will make again whenever another bear market comes along, whether it's now or in the future. People will go, okay, let's cut marketing. And of course, it's easy for me to sit here and say that because I'm like, no, please carry on, because that's our business model. But actually, there is a lot of data and a lot of proof points that if you do, and everyone else doesn't, then you almost always win. And I think we are a fantastic example of that, because in 2022, we sat down and made that call and said, okay, look, after Terra and then FTX, we're like, it's not looking good. Things are dropping. Do we do what everyone else is doing, which is like cut the business in half, hunker down for the winter and wait and come back next time? Or do we double down and say, actually, we think the market's going to come back, and it might take 18 months or 2 years, but the market's coming back. And so how do we make sure when the market comes back, we're at the top of that market, at the top of our game? And that's what we did. And I think that's helped us get where we are today. 4 years ago, no one really knew who Hype was, and now we're one of the top marketing agencies in the space because we're able to continue hire great talent, work with great projects, finesse our work, and do great stuff to the point where now it's a no-brainer, right? Because we really know what we're doing. So I think the same applies to literally any business in the world, whether that's outside of crypto when recessions happen or in crypto when market downturns happen. The more you can stay in market, the better you're going to survive long term.
Amazing. That's some great closing words. Danny, for those who don't know you or Hype, where should people find you?
You can find me lapping around on Twitter. I'm 0x Danny Hype. You can follow Hype on Twitter as well. We're Hype partners on there because we're still trying to get the Hype at. Some guys
who owns
sitting
that?
on it. Some guys been sat on it for years. He just tweets the word Hype once a month to make sure that he holds on to it. It's a crazy amount of money he wants for it, and we keep saying no. So one day we will get it. We thought maybe with this marketplace launch we might, but unfortunately not. And of course, you can if you go to hy.pe, that's our website. You can find out more about us. You can play around with Felix AI, who's our sales bot on there, which is quite fun. So if you want to find out more about us, try that as well. We actually just, don't know if I'm allowed to announce it. I'll check, but we're just about to win an industry award for that. So I'm pretty proud of that one.
Amazing, Danny. That was super interesting. Thank you so much. We're gonna do this again sometime. Thanks for coming on, and have a great rest of your day. Bye.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Bye.